We'll be going into the next keynote session. We will be listening to the CEO, Adaptive Intelligence US. He'll be speaking on the topic, Performing Beyond, Leading Through Uncertainty and Reinvention. Very distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, with a warm round of applause, can we make welcome Russell Rogers for his speaking time? Please give a round of applause as he makes his way to the stage.
Stanford, MIT, Oxford, Cambridge, Wharton, Columbia, Yale, Cornell, Berkeley Horse, and IMD. He is currently completing the Chief Data and Artificial Intelligence Officer program at Carnegie Mellon, one of the world's top AI institutions. With expertise across artificial intelligence, corporate innovation, strategy, technology, venture capital, entrepreneurship, the military as a U.S. Army combat medic and Air Force CBRN instructor, government, and the non-profit sector. Russell brings a unique, cross-disciplinary perspective to solving complex challenges. He serves as Executive Director of the Adaptive Foundation, a global foundation that adapts to the needs of its donors and members, and CEO of Adaptive Intelligence, a global executive learning community. At every stage of his journey, Russell has been driven by a steadfast commitment to service, building bridges across industries, sectors, and geographies to help others grow, lead, and thrive.
Wow. I actually don't know how those pictures got up there. I haven't seen some of those in years. So how do I kick this off? So I'm actually doing, how much time do I have? When am I done? 30 minutes? I have to learn to read. That's helpful. Okay, so I started adaptive intelligence about 2.5 years ago. I've been to a lot of school, and I have a lot of university relationships, and I just sort of went through life and saw people not helping each other as much as they could. And so I like helping people. I don't know, I'm just sort of wired that way. I guess I'm a pleaser, if you will. And so I said, you know, I think I could build an organization whose purpose is simply to help the people in the organization, right? And so that's adaptive intelligence. And so and there's a lot to that. I'll cover a little bit of it. I'm not really up here to promote adaptive intelligence or Adaptive Foundation, which is launching. I'm actually running a workshop right now at the Art Hotel, and then I have a VIP dinner I say VHP, I'll explain that in a second, at Legos Continental tomorrow night. We have about 6 seats left. If at the end of this you're interested, we had about a bunch of people cancel because of, you know, the not great press happening right now around Nigeria and what's happening in the US and policies, et cetera. So there's a bunch of people that said, hey, it's a little bit hot right now. I'm not gonna go. So there's that opportunity, but it needs to be a fit. So I started Adaptive Intelligence, and I'm at a point in my life where I think a lot about how can I help not only like leaders, so I say adaptive intelligence is about leaders helping leaders, but how about those that aren't in a leadership role yet, or maybe it's hard for them to get there. They're under-resourced. There's a lot of circumstances that make it tough. So that's Adaptive Foundation. And Adaptive Foundation is launched like it's really putting the flag in the ground here in Nigeria. And I'll explain, like, why am I in Nigeria, right? It's my first time here. A week ago, had this end up on my radar. Okay, so this picture is the theme. Essentially, I'm gonna like cut right to the chase here. It's about hyper collaboration, right? We all know to collaborate. Everybody should collaborate. Everybody says the word. Everybody, I think they understand what it means, but I'm not sure they do. So I'm going to give you an example of what I do and how I collaborate and how I think simply by, oh yeah, that will come in handy, thank you. Simply by collaborating, you will create more value for those that you're interested in, care about, and it'll be easier for them to help you. So this is actually me the night of our our Nigeria's very terrible soccer football loss the other day. That was a hard game to watch. So I have a lot of Nigerian friends, so I was rooting Nigeria for sure. And that's Tunde Adaparusi. He's in my community. He's a professor, a criminologist. He's Nigerian. He lives in London now, but he goes back and forth. He's a poet. He's a lot of things. He's sort of a Renaissance person. One of the nicest, smartest people you'd ever meet. And this is me. And I'm going to be in a lot of these photos. I actually don't want it to be the me show, but what I'm building is, because I'm the one that's sort of getting it going, it's me showing examples of stuff, and I'm in them. But if you actually know me, I really don't even like being on stage. I like to work behind the scenes and help people. So anybody know who that is? That's Imtitha Mahmood, and she's a Sudanese poet. She's a winner of the 2015 Grand Slam Poetry Prize in the United States, and she's a spokesperson for the UN. She works on refugee issues in Africa, and I think in a country, I don't know the other country in Europe, but the point of this is, he's a poet, an amateur poet, and he wrote this book that I love. It's called The Throw of a Lemon. I highly recommend it. In fact, at my event, I bought 60 copies so that when people come to the dinner, everybody has a copy of that book, and he's going to read from it to open our dinner tomorrow night. And the reason that she's there is she's this like famous poet that he looked up to. That's us in Nigeria a couple of days ago. That's me at the Wharton Africa Business Forum that's held at Wharton every year for the last 32 years. That's, if you don't know Wharton, that's like actually ranked higher than Harvard Business School over the last 10 years. And I live in Philadelphia, so I have good access to it. And all I had to do is I met her, and I said, oh, you know what? Hold on one second. I went and I grabbed a book out of my backpack, and I said, it would mean the world to my friend if you just took a picture, right? Very easy for me to do. How simple is that? My backpack's right there. I just thought of it, take the picture, and told him, and he was delighted, okay? All right, so I'm basically giving you a presentation that I'm going to be giving to other people tomorrow night, but I thought thematically it made a lot of sense because we're talking about, building bold, executing smart, performing beyond. I think we under-collaborate, and I'm going to give you a bunch of examples, and hopefully you'll see that too. And this is Kola Adeshina, who's in my community. He went to Wharton with me 5 years ago, and when I said, why am I here? When I started building this, I ran into Kola in New York City, and I said, hey, Kola, I'm building this thing, and here's what it's about. And he said, that's fantastic. Let's build this together. Let's do it in Nigeria. So that's honestly how it happened. I was like, I don't know, Nigeria. What do I know about Nigeria? I have Nigerian friends, but that's over here in the States. And then another member of my community, Ezekiel Solesi, that some of you may know him, runs Lim Simple. He does a bunch of conferences every month. He invited me out to Singapore, and I went out to Singapore, and it was about 26 or 7 CEOs of small to medium businesses, successful businesses that were looking to scale, and I was there to talk about innovation and scale. I have a career in corporate innovation, and so it was honestly one of the best times I had in my life with a group of people I barely knew. In 4 hours, and I was doing a workshop, I literally felt like they were family, and I was there for a day and a half, and I said, okay, that's a signal. Okay, I'm on board. So I called Cole. I said, yeah, let's do it. So that's how I literally ended up here. It just sort of emergent. There was no plan, right? All right, so we're going to speed up a little bit. So I did a bunch of school. That's kind of an unusual thing about me. You almost think this is made up. It should be. It's actually, now I'm embarrassed by it, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. So I started at the university. Do I have a laser pointer on this? Does this have a laser pointer? Okay, cool. Let's go back one. All right, so I'm born in Tampa, Florida, in the United States. I went to University of South Florida, did 3 undergrads, finance, economics, biology. Then I went to Baylor, and I did an MBA in general management. Then I went to Cornell, did a master's in industrial labor relations. Not bragging, there's a point to this. Then I went to Harvard, did a master's in health policy and management at Harvard, And then I went to MIT, and I did a master's in technology and global leadership at MIT. I ended up staying about 10 years in Boston, in the Boston area. I did a startup, spun it out. I also went to Stanford. I did the Stanford Lead Program in Corporate Innovation, which is 9 graduate courses taught out of the Stanford Graduate School of Business. If anybody's curious about that, it's a sensational program. It's the best value for the money. Somehow I ended up at Yale. I was leading innovation at the largest home builder in the United States. And a person who sat on our board was also a professor at Yale, and he said, hey, you should be in our program. So I did that, and I went to UC Berkeley, did a Chief Technology Officer program, Board Director program, Wharton Advancement. So I did all these things, and I actually just finished Carnegie Mellon University 2 days ago, and it was pretty funny. I was at a hotel, and the Wi-Fi kept dropping, and I'm on camera with my team. We had 4 people, and I was the 3rd one to present, and it just kept dropping, and the person who went second really didn't know my part. And so he's texting me like, dude, you bet the Wi-Fi's got to get up because I don't even know what to say. Miraculously, like a minute before I went on, Wi-Fi went, and it was stable through the rest of it. So yay, I graduated, hallelujah. So there, and that was, woo. So what's the point of that? So like, I did all that school. So like, I know a bunch of stuff and you don't? Well, no. And why is that? Well, because we're all experts now, right? We have ChatGPT. I mean, really, like, think about it. I talk to friends, I ask for their advice because they're my friends and I want sort of like their personal take on things. And I'll listen to them and I'll go to ChatGPT or whatever you want to use, the modern LLM. And generally the quality of the advice I get is better from the LLM. That makes sense. It's read everything, right? It sort of knows everything. What it doesn't know is sort of contextual to you and your particular situation, right? So maybe it's not great for Nigeria-specific cases, but I'll tell you, in the U.S., it's like it's better at being a psychologist. The data shows that if you partner with an LLM and it's sort of like helping you get through personal struggles and crises, the outcomes are better, right? It's better at identifying objects, it writes better, it reads better, it does math better, it computes better. So it's kind of interesting to think like, okay, why did I spend all that time in school, right? So, bummer. Well, it just happened if I had to do over, I wouldn't do all that. I love education. I did all that school because every time I get curious about something, I say, oh, you know what? I really want to know about X, Y, Z. And at some stage, I was able to get into good schools. I'm like, okay, well, I just want to go to whatever's best at that thing. And so I just kept going. And I don't know what I'll do next. Maybe I'll take a break for a while. But so this person taught a course on executive presentation like in 2018. It was in Silicon Valley. I was running an innovation center for DuPont. And he was an instructor, a professor, and he was like the dean at a school at Columbia University. And it ends up on the flight back, he was beside me, right? He was in the seat beside me, which was super, like you get to sit next to your professor on the flight back. And that was pretty special. Anybody know who that man is? Anybody recognize this guy? That's Clayton Christensen. Does that ring a bell for anyone? So Clayton Christensen did the work around disruption and the fact that it's very difficult for organizations to disrupt themselves, because when you get good at something, you focus on doing that thing really well, and you're not going to focus on how to disrupt yourself, right? And he did some fascinating work around it. He's a good friend of mine. He died a few years back. Very sweet person. Okay, so here is, this is about, I don't know, 7-8 years ago. I was asked to come down by this gentleman, and that's me, by this gentleman to come down and do a talk around innovation and built environments. So think of like buildings and how technology can transform the way that buildings are used, right? As well as Bluetooth stuff and edge computing. And I was working at DuPont in the innovation department that I was running. And that's Tim Draper. So that's a famous billionaire venture capitalist in the Valley. That's the president of Chile back then. This guy invited me down. I know him from MIT. And when I look at this picture, I actually don't really pay attention to the president or the billionaire. I pay attention to Pablo, who went to MIT with me. He unfortunately died 3 years ago of brain cancer. And so this is me in the largest copper mine, I think at the time in the world, in the mountains of Chile. And these are some friends of mine, and these are some of the Nigerians that I went to Singapore with in July that I told you we were like family. I think I had presented the first day, and it's 3 in the morning. We're in the lobby of a hotel because they said they couldn't sleep. And I said, well, I guess it's a chance to get to know you. I'd come down, I think, for a bottle of water from the front desk, right? And I was like, what are you all doing? And it was like more than that. It was like 12 people just there chatting and talking and so social. And this is me at an event. This is that Stanford program I told you about. I actually hosted a bunch of people at our innovation center. This is just kind of a celebration. And so here's another one. I'm at this Berkeley program, and anybody know Claude Grunitzky? He does True Social, True Africa. He does a lot of stuff. He's a venture capitalist. He runs a bunch of big social, music, entertainment stuff in Africa. He was a buddy of mine at MIT. Point of this is, we were doing a Harvard case, and Claude was the Harvard case. And I said, holy smokes, I know Claude. Would it be cool if I had him actually call in as we're going through this Harvard business case? Right? Like the value that provided to the class to make that, it was like very easy. I'm just like, Claude, I know you're busy. Could you do me a favor? And like, I had to do that, and it created all this value for people in the class, right? Okay, so the point of that is, the thing I carried away from all that education, some of that education is so dated, I don't even remember what they taught me, right? Honestly, most of it, if we're gonna be honest. But the relationships, and everybody knows this, everybody says it, but what I'm gonna argue is, people are still very transactional. That's my secret power is you. Like, seriously, that's my secret power. It's the people in this room or a room that I'm in, I talk to them, and what I'm sitting there thinking, once you share your own problem, right, you don't have the answer, it's why it's your problem, and you share it. Once I do that, and I'm hoping, hey, does somebody have the answer? When they don't, what most people do is say, oh, okay, thanks. I'm gonna go look for the person that has a problem, that has the answer to my problem. I don't. I say, well, I kind of slowed down. They listened to me talk about my problem, thought about it, and said they didn't have the answer. I ought to be doing the same thing. So my brain goes there immediately. And I look for those easy opportunities to create value for other people. So if you do this consistently, you'll be known for this. And people will come to you. And so what happens, fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of people come to me to try to help them with their problems, but this obviously generates value for me too, because now I get to talk to interesting people with interesting sets of problems, and I'm constantly learning, and it helps me connect the dots, right? It's just incredible value you get by focusing on someone else instead of yourself. All sounds obvious, but it's about the behavior. Okay, so this is when I used to not drink beer and eat pizza. I joined the military 13 days after 9/11, and I was in the military for about 24 years, 8 years of active duty, and the rest Guard and Reserve. And the point is, I turned those relationships into helping this guy that went to a program with me, and we got MIT to sponsor us, and we went and pitched a startup idea, and that's the Dubai Police Force. Once again, not about the education, like the background I had in the learning. It was about having relationships and knowing that that man had some technology that he thought could solve a problem. And then I saw, oh, you know what, I'm an MIT alum, and he wasn't. And I said, hey, they have this sponsored program. Why don't you just write up, the proposal, and I'll just submit it as an alum. I submitted, and lo and behold, Dubai Police Department paid for it. Both of us, 8 days, all expenses paid. We got to get there in front of senior leaders and pitch his idea. Wasn't even something I was thinking about. So, once again, value creation. If you want to learn more about me, that's just my LinkedIn, Russell Rogers. You can go and kind of like look at some of the stuff. Happy to connect you to people. And now I'm going to talk about the organization that I built and how we do things and why I think it's different. So adaptive intelligence is, right, that's this leaders helping leaders. Adaptive foundation is why I say leaders help others. And so we'll go through that a little bit. So we focus on values. When I started building this, apologies, my little watch is buzzing. When I started building this, I thought about like, okay, if I'm gonna put a group of, so I think if what I built is an organization. It's not a network, it's not a community, it's like an organization. Like we have a little bit of structure, we have people that are in different roles that support each other to create value for the organization, right? I'm not trying to build it to like get rich. I make more money in corporate America, way more than I'm going broke doing this, but I'm actually very, very fulfilled and happy. I mean, a bad day, if I don't get my problem solved, but somebody's like, hey, that was super helpful, you know, you helped me do X, Y, it's like a good day, right? So it almost makes it easier to have a good day, if that makes sense. So we talk about, we have this interview process where we say, you know, we're looking for people that are kind, curious, collaborative, with a how can I help mindset. So kind, obviously, you know, the further you get through your work career, the less tolerant many of us get to work with people that are jerks, right? Am I okay? Okay, yes. And so we look for people that are kind, curious. So what's curious? We want people that are, and I think this is important when you create your own communities and circles of people. You want people who are going to treat each other well, obviously. Non-transactional. You want people that are curious. Like, they want to know as much about you as they want to tell you what they need, right? They're intellectually curious. Collaborative. Like, they work well together. They're not just a lone wolf. And with a how can I help mindset, right? They derive some pleasure from that. And so this is an example of the people, and I started with something very global, and I thought, hey, if you're gonna have a community like this, I could have built it in Philadelphia or New York where I live, and I went global first, which makes it, of course, very challenging. But I have sensational people from all over the world, and that's the filter. And there are people that are experts in artificial intelligence to, you know, leaders in oil and gas and everything you can think of in between. We have a fellowship program, and the fellowship, so we take the money and we reinvest. When people join the community, we're not taking the money and like paying it out to stockholders or dividends or enriching ourselves. I say, oh great, we have got more members who've joined the community. Now we can bring on more interns and give them an opportunity to learn. And let me tell you, the fellowship program that we put together, world class. We get top students from the top schools who want to come and help build this. I think it's probably the same in Nigeria, I'm not sure, but certainly in the generation in the US and Europe, 20-year-olds are really thinking big picture stuff, right? They're born into this weird world with like climate change and AI's eating all the jobs and like they want to work on big, you know, important stuff even at a young age, and they contribute a lot. I mean, a 20-year-old today, like I've got a new fellow coming on December, as soon as I get back. She starts December 1st. She's a third-year student at University of Pennsylvania, and she's studying AI, and I'm like, oh, well, third year, I guess you're gonna start like coding AI. She's like, no, I've been coding since I was 12. And I'm like, wow, right? I mean, that's kind of what's coming through, and that's pretty exciting. So we have this fellowship program, and the way I structure it is I say, I'm gonna give you a whole bunch of things that we need, that we think we need, and you give me the things that you're interested in, and let's like find that third circle of like what you're good at, and let's find where those three connects, right? And really the program's about helping them, less so about them helping us. Imagine being that age and having access to like people at this level on a regular basis. I mean, when I was 20, I didn't even know anybody, you know, unless like my parents knew someone. So we have an editorial team, and we have something called the Adaptive Voice, which currently is a publication that we speak to each other, but we are preparing to go external with it. So we've been busy building the culture and bringing in people that behave. So most of what I'm talking about is behavior, right? It's not the secret of like getting and creating more value with people in your network is thinking with a service mindset of like, hey, how can I help you? And if you're known for that, more people come to you for help, but that's beneficial to you. Now you have more connections. Now, you have more information. So it's really a superpower. And now we'll go through kind of the foundation, some of the aspects of it. So we have adaptive intelligence, leaders helping leaders. So maybe somebody wants to get on a board, somebody's trying to do a divestiture or M&A or whatever, and we try to help with those things. We actually coach and counsel each other, and we meet regularly and advise each other on problems that we have. And our mission, this actually is not the correct mission statement, so I gotta talk to the person that works the website, but it's essentially what I've been talking about. It's about helping others, and we have a unique set of tools, and we're starting in Africa. So this is me last week, and that's Sandri Hinacho. And I was gonna fly into Lagos on the 21st, and then do my event the 22nd and the 23rd, and fly back the 24th. And she said, hey, I've got this event the 13th and 14th. I'm like, it's like a week before. And then, I don't know if any of you know Dr. Akin Akinpelu, you might. So he said, hey, I've got an event, maybe you'd be interested. And I said, wow, okay, so I get to actually understand Nigeria a little bit better, build relationships, help people in my community. I'm on. I mean, it sounds like a heavy lift. Maybe I came early. I got to get work done while I was here, right? So it's win-win. And then I get to be at this event. We have a beautiful event happening tonight. And as you know, Akin's one of a kind. So this is me speaking at Sandra's event. She does how to get the most ROI out of your training dollars. She calls it transfer training effectiveness. It's really rigorous stuff. It really makes a very squishy field quite quantitative, which is wonderful. These are some of the things that we do. We make direct investments in African entrepreneurship. We did the Wharton Africa Business competition, as I may have mentioned, and we wrote a check for, we don't really have a lot of money. I just sort of figured out how to scrape something together. We wrote a check of $20,000 to the winners of the Wharton New Venture competition in Philadelphia 2 weeks ago. Ends up, and I did not know this, because we had like Zimbabwe was there, Rwanda, Ghana, Nigeria. Ends up the three winners were Nigerian. I did not know that. So I'm here, and they reached out to me. We were just sort of casual, hey, congratulations, we got to talk more. I'm super excited you won. I'm like, yeah, I'm in Lagos. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah. They're like, I'm in Lagos. So two of the three CEOs of the company did not know this at all. We're in Lagos, and one's in Abuja and ended up actually getting sick. I don't know if that's going around, but I'm hearing quite a few people getting sick these days. Stay healthy. Okay, so what? So you wrote a check to these entrepreneurs, and so what? So I had them come to my event, and I said, hey, I'm in town, you're in town, just swing by and talk to the group. It's like these little easy things you can do for each other. I mean, this is huge. They're gonna come to this event and have access to people that would take them months and months and months through networking and phone calls, and they'll all just be there. And what did I have to do? Nothing, really. So this is one of them, Nathan. Bridge, his co-founder's actually over at my workshop right now. In fact, I think he's just finishing his pitch. And here's another one, Dr. Mubarak Anyini. I think he actually got sick, and he's doing this business that helps supply blood anywhere when you need it safely, quickly. Beautiful idea. Mayatura, health tech. If you're interested in any of these, I can share slides from this deck with you. They're top entrepreneurs that won a competition in the US. So all of them, I'm here helping them. I ran into this woman at an event, Zenithon 5.0. Anybody know Zenith Bank? Probably. I may not even be saying it right. Zenith Bank. It was Tuesday of this week. They had the semifinals, and they had a whole bunch of people who applied. I think like 1,520 were chosen as semifinalists. I was there as just sort of a guest judge of Juliette Himouan, who runs Beyond Limits and her own business, Dice. And she did not finish in the top 5, and then the finals were held Thursday of this week, and the winner got $50,000. But honestly, if you're the top 20 out of 1,500, you know, you're a winner already. So she comes up to me and she's asking advice and feedback on the pitch. And I said, you know, you do close. So she does like this AI solution, and she can kind of use AI to look at you, figure out what you're gonna need, and have really, so I'm wearing, this is her stuff. It was made in, I said, you better make it quick, like 36 hours. So really impressive. And how easy is that? Like, I mean, that was more of taken than given, because I just got like a fresh outfit. And, but you know, I mean, how easy, right? I mean, just I never had plans to do that, and I'm just like, oh, well, that's an easy thing for me to do to get you exposure. This is where we have members. The plan is to have some great people everywhere. We will grow to 1,000, and that sort of locks it in. And some of the things that we were supporting, these are the different components of our ecosystem. So we have the community I've spoken about, the foundation, we have the fellowship, the voice is the periodical, we have a fund. And the point of this is to share with you all an idea of how I view collaboration. It's not to like push what I'm doing. It's, hey, check this out. I'm doing this thing. You all can do these things too, right? It's just like not impossible for anyone to do. It does take a lot of work, but it's very doable. So our fund will have a, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll have a fund that members invest in, and it invests in ideas from the members themselves. It's not a venture fund that goes and looks for something. And let me see if I'm almost done. I think I am. We have an exchange for offers and asks, and I would go through that and explain to you how it works. But basically, we often don't help each other because we don't know what we need help with necessarily, and that captures it. And you can go in and see how to help each other, and high trust community, and we strive for excellence. We're truly a global family. We get to know each other more deeply. We don't just go meet 1 million people. We take time. We value truth over opinion for sure. And that is it. And I welcome any questions. Am I supposed to take questions? Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
It's all right. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Please let's give a round of applause to him.
Yes, sir.
That would be good. And, sorry, give me the microphone. And I'm part of adaptive intelligence. You committed an error. You didn't put my face on it. I'm in that network.
He is the network. No, he joined early and was a supporter when I really didn't have much figured out. So thank you very, very much.
What do you mean by I didn't have much figured out?
Oh, I shouldn't have said that.
What exactly do you mean? You have to correct that. What does that mean?
I didn't previously, but I do now.
Oh.
You've helped me figure it out.
Better. Let's celebrate Russell Rogers. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.